Hey guys, I'm back. Cinnamon rolls and sticky buns. So the last time I saw you, I was making this. So this is the cinnamon roll and sticky bun dough. I kept it in the refrigerator overnight. You want to keep it in the refrigerator and pull it. You notice when you're wrapping it up that it's really sticky. So pull it right as you're going to use it. Don't pull it and let it sit out for too long because you're just going to have a heck of a time trying to roll it out. Unwrap it. And then get some flour down. So you need kind of a big flat surface to work on. We're gonna work with half of this at a time. So I'm gonna take something, a butter cutter or a knife, whatever you have, to cut it in half, and you're just gonna eyeball it. Half of it is gonna be for your sticky buns, half of it for your cinnamon rolls. You can try to roll the whole thing out, but it becomes kind of cumbersome, so I just do it half and half. So if you flatten it out first, into a rectangle, you're gonna have an easier time with this. So see, it's already kind of sticking. So just make sure you're adding flour because you can brush the flour off as you go. Okay, so I'm gonna roll it out. So it's cold, so it's gonna take a minute to warm up, but then once it warms up, it's pretty easy. So I'm gonna try to do about a 12 by 10 inch rectangle. So I can get 6 cinnamon rolls, six 2-inch cinnamon rolls out of this. And I'm going to do that for both of these. So roll it. And then if you have this, what I have right here, kind of the cracking, kind of just press it together, just as like you would do for pie dough. So, and it'll just roll right into there. And it's okay if you have a little crease like that. No big deal. And I'm kind of pulling this back. So if you have a butter cutter or something flat and you can kind of work these edges and bring them back together, it makes it nicer for rolling. See, it's stuck a little bit, but that's okay. Flip it and then roll. So just a little recap here. You guys had your sponge, the sponge set, you mixed it up just until it was combined. Cover it in plastic wrap, let it sit in the refrigerator overnight. So the sponge is your yeast for this application. Then you pulled the sponge out, you creamed your butter and your sugar. Once it was creamed like cookie dough and it was soft, then you added in your eggs one at a time. Once that was mixed, you add in your sponge. Remember, the sponge isn't gonna fully mix in, it's kind of like oil and water. But once you've added the sponge in and it's kind of broken up and mixed in a bit, then you're gonna add in your bread flour. Remember, we're using bread flour in this application because it provides more structure. So then, once the bread flour and salt are in, you're gonna mix it just until it's combined. You don't wanna over mix it because you'll have tough cinnamon rolls. I see some little pieces of butter in here and I'm totally cool with that. Because also as you're rolling it, remember you're working the dough as well. So I have my 12-inch by, it's actually 12-inch by 12-inch, but I'm not too sad about that. So they're just gonna be a little fatter. So I have this, okay, so then, sorry, you're gonna mix it, then you're gonna form it into a rectangle, wrap it super well all the way around, flatten it out into a rectangle, and refrigerate it overnight, at least for 6 hours, just so it's nice and cold when you work with it. Then pull it out and work with it right away on a flour dusted surface. So I have butter here melted. So I'm gonna add, or I'm gonna use my pastry brush to add, or to spread butter on here. You can do, I'm doing cinnamon and sugar. If you want to do brown sugar, you totally can. I remember I used to do that when I was younger. It just makes it kind of more caramelized, which is really good. Adds a little bit more depth of flavor, which I really like. My butter's kind of seizing once it hits this cold dough. So that's how cold it is. So then cinnamon sugar. So I made a lot here because I'm going to use a lot, but you can do like a cup of sugar and like 3 tablespoons of cinnamon will be perfect, just so it's cinnamony enough. So some bigger chunks of cinnamon there. I'm just going to sprinkle it on here. And if you get big chunks of sugar like this, that's fine, just kind of push them out. Okay, so just enough to coat the surface. If you go more, you put more cinnamon on there, so it's like a thick layer of cinnamon. As you roll it out, it's just gonna come out the sides. It's not gonna stay. So just enough to coat the surface. So then I'm gonna roll it up. The first roll is the hardest. So about 1/2 inch roll. And then I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna do the same thing. Just roll it over like this. And then eventually, and as I'm going through, kind of brush off that excess flour. Eventually it'll just let you roll. So I'll do a roll, brush off any excess flour and kind of tuck it back just a little bit so it's nice and tight. Tuck it back, roll off the flour, roll, tuck it back, roll off the flour. So for the cinnamon rolls, you are going to cut about 2-inch pieces. So 2 inches, about that, remember 2 knuckles, about that much. So I'm gonna cut off the ends. And I'm still gonna use those are still delicious. Someone will eat them. But then I'm gonna cut these into 2-inch pieces. So my math is horrible. I get 9 out of this. So then you're gonna get them onto a tray, and you're gonna take the ends and you're gonna tuck them under like that. So the end of the cinnamon roll, tuck it under. I'm trying to be being careful so the cinnamon doesn't all fall out, and then it'll go onto the tray. So I'm gonna show you this up close and personal. So I have my little roll, and this is the end. I'm gonna tuck that underneath like that and set it on the tray like this. So then, just for good measure, I always kind of press them down a little bit. Sometimes when you're making cinnamon rolls, they can, as they proof up, they can kind of be windswept a little bit. So I give them just a little tap down, like that. Okay, and then once they are all done and on the tray, you're gonna do egg wash. So this is just eggs beaten up, just like a normal egg wash. Use a pastry brush, and this is gonna be for color. This is what makes them look nice and shiny and pretty. So you're gonna remember do egg wash all the way around. You don't wanna see the drips of egg wash, and you also don't want it to dry out. So once they are all egg washed on your tray, loosely cover it with plastic wrap and then let them sit for 45 minutes till they've almost doubled in size. Don't go full double, but almost doubled in size. And they should feel soft, and they will double in size. So that's cinnamon rolls. So the other portion, and these will go into the oven once they've almost doubled in size, go into the oven at 375 for about 15 to 20 minutes. They will be nice and golden brown on the outside, and inside the seams, they won't be shiny. I hope that makes sense. So the next portion of this is sticky buns. So for the sticky buns, you're gonna take the sticky bun glaze. So I have a 9-inch cake pan here. I cut a piece of circle parchment on the bottom. I used a little bit of pan spray to make it stick to the bottom. To make the sticky bun glaze, I melted the butter, and then I just added the honey and the brown sugar to that in a small bowl, and just until it's mixed together. Then I took a spoon and I spread it evenly on the bottom of the pan. These are really good because they're, it's almost like caramel on the top. Some of you have probably already seen them. So for these, we're not gonna tuck the ends. We're just gonna make sure the ends are facing towards the center. So if the ends are facing towards the outside of the pan, what's gonna happen is they're gonna kind of come out and it won't be rounded. So I'm gonna face them towards the inside and sort of press them down. And it'll fit 6 of these little 2-inch cinnamon rolls. So 5 on the outside, 1 in the center. And then you're gonna also proof these until they're doubled. Okay, these funky ones, you can just, I always put them, since they're a little bit smaller, the little end pieces, I always put them towards the center so they don't get burnt of the pan. and then you'll egg wash those too. Okay, I'm gonna show you guys what both of these look like when I come back. All right, I'm back to finish up. So when your cinnamon rolls look like this, so they're nice and caramelized on the outside and the seams aren't white, then they're good to go. So you don't want them bright white, and there should be caramelization. So then the sticky buns. So the sticky buns will look like this. There'll be some liquid left in there, so you have to be really careful. So what you're gonna do is take a plate over the top of them, so a round plate that fits over the top of your pan, and you're gonna flip it over. I definitely recommend having gloves on or something, so you don't burn yourself. So put the plate over the top, and you're just gonna flip it like that. Flip it away from you too, so if it spills, then you're okay. So just like that, flip it over, and then you should be able to lift it up and have some beautiful sticky buns. Sometimes some ends up on the bottom. I'm just gonna piece that out, but check it out. All right, guys. You can make glaze for your cinnamon rolls. Usually I just do powdered sugar and some milk and some vanilla, just till it's like glazable. You can do thick or thin. Sometimes I'll do some cream cheese icing too, and we can talk about that.